So come into a seated position. Let's come into a cross-legged position tonight. Try to have the pelvis lifted so the thighs are open, the hips are open. Shrug the shoulders from it, lift the shoulders up, and then straighten the arms and push down on the thighs. Just have a little push there in a way that's compassionate towards your thighs. So if it's too sharp on the thighs, just back off a little bit. Have some compassion for the thighs. Feeling the downward pressure of the arms, pushing at the hip flexors, and then release. Lean back into your hands and change the cross of the legs. So bring back the other leg. Inhale, shrug the shoulders, and then start to straighten the arms, pushing down into the thighs in the non-habitual cross. And feel how that also stretches open the abdominals. And then release. And then one more. Bring the soles of the feet together. Once again, come to the edge of whatever you're sitting on so you have a nice forward tilt in the pelvis. So if I turn sideways, you'll see that I have a slight lean forward, but a straight back. So we want that straight back. Forward tilt in the pelvis, legs out to the side. And this time, grab the shins or the ankles, bend the elbows and hinge forward. Just hinge forward. So you get that thigh stretch to start with. Once again, if that's too intense, use your hands to control the intensity of the forward tilt. And then exhale, release. Bring those knees up, and we're going to come onto all fours, cat and cow. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Tighten the arms and extend the left foot back and drop the ball of the foot and press out through that left heel. So we're coming into the calf muscle and the hamstring. Give that a nice stretch. Switch sides, bring the left knee forward, right knee back, drop the ball of the right foot, feel the toe pads on the mat, push out through the right heel. You get a delicious release in the calf muscle as well as the hamstring. So using that whole back of that leg, the bottom of the foot, and the back of the heel, all getting a stretch here. Bring that knee forward. We're going to do a little bit of work here to oil up the hips. Bring the left knee out to the side, fire hydrant. And we're going to revolve that left knee about the hip. So bring the knees together, keep the left knee bent, and then push the foot up as if you're trying to put a footprint on the ceiling above you. Left knee is still bent. And then bring it out towards the shoulder again into fire hydrant. And let's do that twice more. Full circle. Oiling up the hip, that left hip. And then the next time you come to fire hydrant, let's do 3 back the other way. So bring it behind you, lift up, knees together, and then out fire hydrant, lift up, knees together, out fire hydrant, lift up, knees together, out fire hydrant, and drop. Bring both knees back, come onto your belly. And you can use a blanket or a bolster or just purely onto the carpet. Bring that left knee out into fire hydrant, but you're lying on the belly now, so it's frog position, half frog. Push that left knee out so the hips are nice and wide open. You feel that right hip flexor as well. And come into goalpost arms, resting the side of the head, looking in the same direction as the bent knee. So we'll be here for a while, so every now and then, could you push that left knee out a little more so that left thigh opens up a little more? As you start to feel comfortable here, invite your right arm onto the low back. Relax the right shoulder. So now there's some weight bearing down at the base of the spine, and hopefully that weight feels good, feels comfortable. There's a big hip and thigh opener here. You can bring the left hand back as well, if you like. Resting both hands on the low back. Feeling the weight of both arms sinking into the low back. The right leg should be in triple flexion. The toes are pointed, toenails on the mat. So the ankle is extended. The leg is straight, the knee joint is extended, and the hip flexor is extended. Release the hands and stack the hands under the forehead. So the head is no longer rotated. Tuck the chin into the chest and bring the elbows up a little bit so there's a relaxation in the shoulders and the back of the neck. If you're comfortable with this left hip extended still, this left thigh opened up, continue to stay here. At any time you can break the pose and come back to both legs on the mat. If your left leg is still extended out, consider bringing the elbows under the shoulders, propping yourself up close enough so the hands can reach the upper arms. Drop the hands onto the floor and relax the shoulders. And start to nod the head gently. Feel the neck release. Lifting and lowering the chin. The next time the head comes to neutral, turn the head left and right. So shaking the head left and right. Exploring the end points of a comfortable range of motion. There's no need to push into anything. Look for delicious discomfort. Then come to neutral. And then start to spiral out the nose into a circular clockwise direction. Until you come to your maximum circle that feels right for your neck. Come to neutral and spiral the circle in the opposite direction. So our left hip has been out a long time. If you need to bring it back, bring it back. Let's bring the head to stillness. So one final lift on that left hip if you want to. Bring the elbows out an inch or so, hands to the edge of the mat, and carefully straighten those arms into seal pose. Once again, is it right for your body? It's a big stretch in the hips, a big stretch in the thighs, a big stretch in the abdominals even. But your hips and your thighs are definitely going to feel this. Let's do 3 more breaths here. And then gently bend elbows. Bring that left thigh in onto the mat. Stack the hands. And notice any lingering sensations in the left thigh and left hip after half rope. What's remaining, what's lingering, even though we've collapsed the shape. The shape is no longer there, but the feelings of the shape are lingering. Inhale, push up to tabletop, cat and cow. You might feel this when you do sacred angry cat. After all that back bending. All right. The next time you come to neutral, lift that right knee out to the right, fire hydrant. Lubricate the right hip, and then bring the knees together, and then push the right foot to the ceiling, keeping the right knee bent. So you're circling the knee about the hip. Fire hydrant, knees together, right knee up. Big circle, lubricating that right hip. And back the other way. And then come down and bring that right knee out to the side. Now when you bring that right knee out to the side, approximately we're looking at the thigh at 90 degrees to the hip, the knee at 90 degrees, and even the foot at 90 degrees. You've got nice 90-degree angles here. And then as the elbows come out to the side, they're also 90 degrees. The neck is turned towards the bent knee. And the first 10 or dozen breaths are for settling in. Make any adjustments you need to that supports you in this position. Left hand on the low back if that works. Relaxed left arm. Again, another 10 to 12 breaths, inviting the right arm back to rest onto the low back. Noticing if that right knee wants to come out a little deeper, opening the thigh a little more. And we want to hit all 4 thighs tonight. All 4 thighs in all directions. So we've really hit the adductors, a little bit of hamstring work. Three more breaths here. Releasing the arms, stacking the hands under the forehead. Relaxing the elbows and shoulders, chin towards the chest. Check in with that right hip, right thigh. Make sure it's okay. Option to prop up, elbows under shoulders into the variation of Sphinx pose. working your head in all 6 directions. You can start with the nods, letting that neck release after that long twist. Left-right rotations, shaking the head. Feeling the range of motion after the long twist. And then spiral out circles until you get your maximum circle. Reverse direction when you're ready. Come to stillness. Check in with that left hip that it's okay. Option to come up into seal pose with wide hands, straight arms carefully as you come up. So the hips are really have been opened up a lot in this period. Exhale, release. Bring that knee back. Feel the lingering, and then roll to one side. Come into George Costanza pose. Ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, all lined up. You can prop your head up with your hand, or you can lay it down on your bicep, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Pick up that front knee, hug it towards you, and then slide your hand down and grab the foot and pull it back into your quadricep stretch. Pulling the foot back into the buttocks, bring that top shoulder back. Yep, that's it. Knees together. Keep working that top shoulder back, holding onto the foot or shin. For those who want more stretch, you can roll onto your belly, holding the foot, and then work that stretch by pressing the hips down and lifting the knee up and pulling the foot back. So you can add a considerable amount of sensation to that right hip or that top hip, top quadricep. Five more breaths here. And release that foot. Release, flop it out. Whether you're resting on your side or your back or your belly, just feel the release of that foot, that leg. Make your way over to the other side. Line up the 5 pieces of the 5 joints, the 5 kinetic chains, ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, head. Lift up that top knee. Grab the foot and bring back the top shoulder blade. So you've got a nice, delicious stretch in that quad. Good. That's it. Try to bring the knees closer together to get a little more stretch. Good. And you always have the option of going onto the belly for the deepest quadricep stretch. So the thighs, quadriceps, very strong muscles. You're working them all day. They get very tight. Takes a little bit of time for the muscle to release. Five more breaths here. And release, staying on the belly or the side of the body or the back, and just feeling the release of that pose. And then inhale, come up, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Bring the left knee forward and left foot underneath your right hip. Walk your right knee back until you feel a delicious something or other in that left thigh. And then bring your left hand out to the left and lean onto that left thigh. So moving into deer pose rather than pigeon pose. Bend your back knee. So the back leg is bent, and you've got that nice lean to one side here. So your right hand is kind of freed up. And then open that left knee out about 90 degrees. So bring that left foot up the mat a bit. Yep, that's it. Scoop the flesh from the left side of the belly out of the way. Hinge over the front of that, over that left leg. Just come over it. Feel your belly and ribs against that left thigh. Support yourself on your elbows. If you can't reach the elbows, use your hands and start to, or you could use blocks actually. It's nice to be able to lean into the elbows. So blocks or floor. Relax the head. There should be something or other in the back of that left outer thigh, left glute. You can stack fists and rest your head on stacked fists. That's a nice relaxing way to hold this shape. You could use a block under the head. Nice to support the head in this shape. To take this hip thigh shape to another level requires the arms. You walk the hands out away from the head and you reach. So the arms straighten, come onto the palms or the finger pads and reach. This is going to add more sensation to that outer left thigh and hip. And now walk the hands back, let the hands pick you up. Look down for a moment, look down onto the ground, leaning into the hands, giving the shape time to leave the body in a gradual manner. And then gently bring that foot back, come onto your knees and hands. Extend the left leg back, drop the ball of the foot and press out through the heel bone, stretching the hamstring once again. Float that left foot into the sky, parallel to the spine. Left toes point down, knee points down, and just bend the knee and bring the head towards the knee and then extend it out. Just working that hip and leg with a few movements. 2 more. And then drop that left knee beside the right knee. Slide the right knee forward to the right wrist. Right foot comes underneath the left hip. Curl the toes of the left foot and walk your left knee back and back until you get a delicious, stretchy something on that right outer thigh. Bring the right hand to the right and sit down on that right sit bone. So you got that nice stable position. Bend the back knee and push the front foot forward on the mat. So you got that kind of, I don't know, some kind of shape there. And then scoop your flesh out of the right side of the belly and come over that front thigh. So this is where you relax the head for a while. We just sink into the shape. Give the thighs, the low back, plenty of time to relax here. Resting the head will allow that sense of letting go. It's worth spending time in this preliminary stage of deer pose to give the hips time to settle in. before you open up your antlers. Let's do about 5 or 6 more breaths in the relaxed version before we open up the rack and reach out with the hands. And then as you consider working out with the hands, start to explore bringing them out. And you can come out gradually, stage by stage, or reach right out into a big, deep stretch. Five more breaths here. And then gently walk your hands back. And resting the hands, looking down, giving the shape time to leave the body. And then gently come up. Grab a bolster. Grab a bolster. Grab 2 blocks if you have blocks or something that can support you as well. And bring the bolster under. No. Let's get this right. Coming back up. Bring the bolster behind your back. So the length of the bolster is, the distance of your spine is about 1 fist between your spine and the bolster. And have a blanket or a towel handy. Lots of bits and pieces. Have your blocks handy, your towel handy, bolster behind the spine, and drape down onto your bolster. Make sure the bolster or set of pillows you have underneath you is long enough so that your head is at the same level as your spine, resting on the bolster, but your hips are on the ground. So your low back is arched. Keep the knees bent for now. If your neck is uncomfortable, if there's too much tension in the back of the neck, take your towel or pillow or your blanket and use it as a cushion for the head. Take pressure off the head if you need to. If your low back is uncomfortable, lift the pelvis and bring the blanket under there. Bring the knees together for a moment, feet apart. Start to settle into this supported back bend. And let's release some tension from the base of the skull. Clasp the hands under the head. Wrap the back of the neck between the warm hands and wrap the skull between the forearms. Lift the head up off the bolster and start to lift the back of the skull like you're lifting a motorbike helmet off the back of the head, and feel the skull traction out away from the neck, away from the shoulders. Lay the head back down, release the hands from the back of the head, and then bring the soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. And this is where you can use the blocks if you'd like to. I like to use the blocks initially in this supine butterfly pose because I don't overly stretch the hips or the thighs. I can control it with the blocks. So you want some sensation, but not too much. So the blocks will support the thighs to not overly open the hips. However, your attention here is on the weight of your thighs coming into the blocks. Every now and then, if the weight of the thighs is starting to increase, consider bringing the blocks a little further out towards the edge of the knees so the hips can open a little more. So it's very gradual. Because it's gradual, you might find the hips, the range of motion in your hips increases more than normal. We haven't talked about breathing tonight. What breath are you drawn to right now? Is it a gentle breath? So I'm going to recommend a gentle breath in through the nose and out through the nose. If you're familiar with alternate nostril breathing, you can bring your right hand up to the head and block the right nostril with your right thumb. Inhale through the left nostril and then block the left nostril with the tip of your ring finger, exhaling through the right nostril. Inhale right nostril, block with the tip of the thumb, exhale left nostril. Switching nostrils each time you inhale. So you exhale and inhale one side and then switch. And as you exhale, consciously relax the thighs and hips. Feel the weight come onto your block. You can switch arms if one arm gets tired. And you should start to feel the hips wanting to open more. Give them that permission by moving the blocks a little further out. If you can maintain the concentration of the breath, that's an added bonus. If at any time this gets too much for the hips, stand the feet back on the mat, knees together, and give the hips a rest. The next time you exhale through the left nostril, release the breathing technique, breathing naturally and gently through both nostrils. Once again. Extend both legs out. Let both legs relax. Continuing with this supported back bend. Stay with the breath if you can. Usually the mind will start to wander away at the bottom of the exhale. Gently bend the knees. And roll to one side, either staying on the bolster or coming off the bolster. And then gently press up. I'm going to come around, knees around the bolster into supported child pose. Now in supported child pose, you can have the head turned in one direction. And I'll give you the cue later on to turn the head in the other direction. If you do not want to do any more head twisting, you can stack the hands or rest the forehead or chin on the bolster. If holding the neck in one position for too long requires you to move it intermittently, do so. Feel the thighs and the hips and the low back and the neck here. If you haven't already, turn the head to the other side. Notice the neck. Invite the breath to slow down. It's a challenge to stay attentive to the breath over longer periods of time. By practicing that attention on the breath, we focus the mind. We relax the nervous system. Three more breaths here. And then make your way up onto tabletop and finding a comfortable seat on your bolster. And that comfortable seat can be folded legs, wide seated pose. It can be kneeling, thunderbolt pose. It could be legs extended if your knees just need to extend after that long child pose. So listen to your knees. Let your knees and hips guide your seated position. Notice any currents of energy that you feel running through the body right now. Maybe they're locatable geographically in the body's position. Or maybe your mind or emotions can pick them up. Any tiny currents, like a little electrical impulses. Bring the hands together at the chest in prayer. Let the head bow in gratitude for our practice. Namaste. Thank you, folks. Great to see you tonight.